A Yonkers family is still struggling to deal with the death of their son. 23-year-old Michael Nolan was gunned down in a Yonkers parking lot in September of 2015. He died in the hospital 3 weeks later, and it took 6 more months before arrests were made. RFL senior political producer Karen McBride has been following the story. Karen?
Thanks, Dom. Michael was a star baseball player at Saunders High School. In fact, he was so good the Oakland A's drafted him. The man who pleaded guilty to the shooting, Nishawn Hunter, just received a 25-year sentence. 3 other men were also charged, and 2 of them received lighter sentences. The 4th is scheduled to be sentenced next month. And while the family is grateful their son's killers are going to jail, it's done little to ease their pain. I recently sat down with Michael's parents, Donna and Jimmy Nolan. Donna, all parents think their children are special, but Michael did have a special gift with baseball, but he was gifted in many other ways.
He just was a good, and not because he's mine, you know, but he was just a good kid. He was a good-hearted kid. He loved to just have fun. That was his whole thing, just have fun, laugh. And that's what he did. He was always laughing and smiling. You never knew Michael was upset. You never knew he was mad. You know, when he went down to Oklahoma to go, his first year he went down to Western to, you know, pitch for baseball in college. And it was the 3rd time the Yankees had come to see him. He was in the 3rd inning and he felt a pain in his elbow, so they immediately took him out. He ended up having to have Tommy John surgery. And I remember when he told me on the phone and I started crying, he was like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't need this right now." He was like, "Nah, I'm gonna be good, Ma, don't worry about it." He said, "I'll come back, I'll do my rehab." And he took it in such, like, he didn't take it that this was a negative. This was a positive. You know, he went, he had the surgery, he came home, he rehabbed in New York, went back to school, conditioned himself, and he was back on the mound. He loved life.
And he also liked to help others. He was very generous. After 9/11, he went down to help his dad.
He loved going down there. He loved going down there, and he would wait every Saturday morning. He would be up at the crack of dawn. He'd go down there, and he would ride on the gator. He would hand out water to the cops and firemen. You know, he would help them clean out the memorial, put fresh flowers, and he loved it. He loved going down there. He was a big part of when we did the Victims Tree the first year. He was a big part of it, you know, putting ornaments on. He gave a lot back. He helped coach the Saunders basketball team. He helped coach baseball. I'll never forget, he had gotten drafted, and Pat Coy had like a family picnic day, like a reunion for everybody that played, and we were down there at the Glen. This one little kid noticed him. And all of a sudden, he goes running over to his, you know, all his friends. "That's Mike Nolan, he got drafted." Now they're all just taking their shirts, they're taking their baseball pants, having him sign it, and their hats, anything that they had for him to sign. And they were asking him 1,000,001, and he was just laughing, taking it, and, you know, taking it in stride. He left me a lot of good memories. He really did.
And Donna, Jimmy, you believe as parents you did everything right. You raised your boys to respect others, stay in school, stay out of trouble. And now you're asking yourself, how could this happen?
I ask that every day. How and why? You know, he had nothing to do with the fight. They had 3 hours to plan this out. You know, because the fight happened at 9:30. You didn't come back up to Yonkers till 12:30. I mean, you had enough time to, cool down, whatever you had to do. But you just didn't. You just drove up here like a bunch of banshees and shot my son.
And this is in your own city, in your hometown of Yonkers.
In my community, you shot my son.
And the target was 85 feet away. Michael was coming home. He was just going to get burgers, and target was 85 feet away. Mike was putting a burger in his mouth and looking at his cell phone. They missed their target, and Mike was at the end of the parking lot by himself, and they took 6 shots at him. 2 hit the car and 3 hit him. This in the million years. Never thought this would ever happen to me. I lost 2 sisters by a drunk driver 28 years ago. My mother's still crying, still crying. She's going to die with a broken heart, and me and Donna's going to die with a broken heart.
How did you summon the courage to face your son's killers?
Oh,
I couldn't do it.
I'll tell you, from the day that this happened, I just kept saying, I want to know who and I want to know why. When I seen these little punks come walking out, it was like I got the call that you shot my son all over again, because every time I look at their faces, it just enrages me.
And when you went to the hospital, what were you thinking when you first saw Michael?
They let us in the room and we started calling his name, and he started
He was trying to get up.
get his body up, you know. But then they got nervous because at that point they didn't want the bullet to move, so they medically induced him.
And at one point, Michael opened his eyes.
All of a sudden I see his eye open, and I'm like, I said, Mike, it's Mommy. You good, right, kid? And he winked. He opened it again. Joe said something to him. His eye followed Joe, Davon, Jimmy. He walked to the other side of the room. He followed him. I said, Nick's here. I said, he's by the door. He's not feeling good. His eye went towards the door. I said, you got this, kid, right? And he winked again. And I think that was his way of telling me, I'm good, Mom, but I'm not going to live like this, because it wouldn't have been Michael.
After the break, more with the Nolans, including how the community rallied around the family in the wake of the tragedy and how meaningful that was to them.